What's going on, everyone? Klep Napier from wearecritix.com, and I'm here with MC Ghoul of the XScream podcast. And today we are here to talk about, break down, and review this latest horror suspense thriller. What would you call it?
True crime mystery.
Yeah.
Amazing.
LongLegs, highly anticipated LongLegs, directed by Oz Perkins, stars Nicolas Cage and the young lady's name,
Miaika Monroe.
Yeah, Miaika Monroe.
From It Follows.
Yeah, because I'm not really all that familiar with her, but I did see It Follows. Definitely a movie I need to go back to because it was like a one and done. I watched it once, loved it, but I never went back to it. But I definitely will. So yeah, we're here to talk about LongLegs. A lot of people have been buzzing about this film for a very, very long time. It's been going through the festival circuit. Mm-hmm. It's at like a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, there's a lot to unpack in the whole performance.
But that's the critics review. The critics review is like very high. 90, 92, I believe it is. But then we have the audience score, which is a 67 around that time. Yeah, it's at a 67, which is where I think I sit in this movie. You, on the other hand, have a different. What I love that there's going to be contrast in this review.
Yeah.
Because I don't hate this movie. I think this movie is absolutely brilliant. It's fun. Nicolas Cage's performance is phenomenal. He's like unrecognizable. But before we talk about what we think, let's talk about what it is. Break down the story.
Yeah, so we're following the story of this FBI agent played by Miaika Monroe, and there's a lot of mystery already in just her facial expressions, and there's a lot to kind of unpack in this kind of slower mystery clue-solving approach to what turns out to be a serial killer who's been haunting this town for about 30 years.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, Miaika's role has a psychic level to her character in which she has some form of connection to this serial killer, and the movie basically just helps you uncover what that is and what the story behind LongLegs truly is.
And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. And it is a deep onion to peel, like
so
to
many
get
layers.
to the you know what I mean. Talk about what you enjoy about this film, because I'm gonna hopefully contrast what you're saying.
Yeah.
In a positive way, because like I said, there's nothing really bad about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I don't think it'll be for everyone, but I want to know why you really enjoy this movie.
Well, the truth of the matter is that this movie is for the movie buff. Like, if you love movies and you're about the like depth of story, of context, of meaning and themes, this is for you. You can't miss it. If you don't have this in your repertoire as a movie buff, you're messing up. Like, this is one that is on that list forever. And every true crime horror mystery, you need this on your list. Essentially, after we watched it, I had a little bit of mixed feelings, right? Because I am a huge Nicolas Cage fan.
Yeah.
Like I will fight you.
He does.
I love Nick Cage.
he
does no wrong to this school here. So I showed up already with that in mind. And then on top of that, Oz Perkins is an incredibly interesting individual. If you don't know, Oz Perkins is the son of actor Anthony Perkins, who's best known for Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho as Norman Bates. Anthony Perkins had a very, very complicated personal life. He was queer, but closeted his entire life, and after conversion therapy, he married his wife, who's Oz Perkins' mother. Throughout their entire life, his mother kept their father's identity. Conversion therapy, and they made a pact because they were like best friends, and like she supported him through everything, and she made a pact with him to keep his sexual orientation a secret from even the children and the immediate family, much more the public eye, right? So with so much hidden secrets and essentially traumas that Oz Perkins' family had to endure through this, both parents being highly public figures, there's a lot of secrets to unravel for Oz Perkins when his father passed in 1992. And in an interview that he gave with IndieWire, he gets really deep into this and tells us that the story of LongLegs really is a reflection of the hardships that his mother had to go through to hide this massive secret of the identity of their father, like the truth of his own self-identity. and how hard that was, like the depth in which a mother will go to hide or lie to their offsprings in order to protect them, and how it is a representation of their love. And I think Oz really hits that really hard on the storyline, especially once you get into the third act. That's part of what makes this movie so special. And, you know, sadly, even his mother had a tragic ending. She was one of the victims in the first plane of 9/11.
Oh, wow.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, his life is
I didn't know
incredibly
that.
interesting. And he writes from what he knows. And it's very apparent in this one. You know, he's had a couple rounds when he did Hansel and Gretel. And even he says that he feels like he didn't quite nail it because the script wasn't in his hands, only the directorial side. But in LongLegs, he finally comes to a point in which he has both writer and director credit, and he really, this is him, this is his truth, and in the best way possible. I even went after the movie and watched Silence of the Lambs on top of that to get like the contrast and like understand the hype behind why they were comparing the movies. And there's so many parallels. Yeah. There's so many parallels, and some of the tropes that we kind of discussed initially, where we weren't sure that we enjoyed how Mika's character kind of represented those tropes of a female FBI agent that kind of resembles, you know, Dana Scully from the X-Files. There is so much more that it resembles of Clarice Starling in Silence of the Lambs than we really realized that first view through. And while the pace is definitely very different than the Silence of the Lambs, it's very different. You're going to want to stick with it. The jump scares keep you hooked. Oh my goodness. He nailed it with that.
Yeah. So, and everything that Em is saying is exactly the truth. Like, this film is for the movie fan, like myself, like her, like the film enthusiasts, the deeper thinkers, the people who love to peel back layers beyond what's on the surface. Now, me, to give contrast to what you're saying, is that as a casual moviegoer, and I'm not a casual moviegoer, but I like to envision my experience to kind of help y'all understand what you're going to get when you go see this movie. So for me, I think the movie's great. I think it has great contrast, great jump scares.
Especially
I'm talking
visual contrast, huh?
Yeah, like I'm talking from the beginning when this movie starts. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you right now, buckle up. And the middle, great parts. The end, excellent. I just don't like the road that's taken to get there. I feel like it can get very draggy. It can get very long-winded in certain parts. Characters might not be all that likable at certain points. But there are some good characters in this film. There's great stories, great moments. It's just, it takes a little bit long for it to kind of get to where it's supposed to go. And I think that's the problem that a lot of the casual movie fans are going to have. This is not a popcorn film whatsoever.
Not at all. I don't think we even got popcorn for this film.
Yeah. This is not a popcorn film, ladies and gentlemen. This is a film festival film. And I tell that because, I mean, that's the circuit it won awards in. That's the circuit where people were raving about it. And it is exactly that. You're going to see this movie in a theater thinking that you're going to be, you know, entertained with like something that's more commercial, like Silence of the Lambs or you know, Seven or something like that.
Those were the two movies that were very specific to Perkins. You know, he grew up watching that. But those movies came out at a key time in his life when his father had just passed and all of this was happening. And, you know, already being in a family of Hollywood, you know, he was looking at that and he really wanted to bring those elements that he fell in love with making movies and telling stories from that time. And I think he nailed a lot of those tropes, you know, some of the things that we initially had a problem with, like, why would she do that? Why wouldn't she do this? It's actually, you have to remember that in 1993, we didn't have cell phones enough to logic in the same way. You know, some of the same things that we criticized initially of like, why would she do that? Clarice Starling does that in some of her scenes, you know, and it's just a nod to the time, you know. The early 90s just didn't have the same tools. They didn't have the same perspective towards their neighbors. People still weren't fully locking their doors, but there was still crazy stuff happening. And it's just a time and place, and I think Oz did a great job at nailing those things through some of the directions and maybe some of the things that make it hard initially to follow Micah's character in the
Yeah,
first
to
two
get
acts.
to kind of lose yourself in the story. There might be a lot of moments that kind of pull you out of it when it comes to reality and the things that you might do. You're definitely going to be like, no, I don't know anyone that would do that. But yeah, we are in different times, and it's hard to kind of put yourself in a period piece, especially the newer generation. We did a lot of things when we were younger that some of y'all just would not understand.
Like the rotary phone.
Oh yeah, well, not only that, like coming home, when the lights came, like we had some crazy rules back in the day, or lack thereof.
Yep, that's what it was.
But yeah, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, that's other than that. We could talk about the performance of Nicolas Cage real quick before we wrap up.
You should just go watch.
Because
go watch. There's not enough words
for me
to convey it.
He's the best thing about this movie. The absolute best thing.
1,000%.
Like, and a lot of people are like, oh, I've seen Nicolas Cage movies. And I'm like, no, you've never seen Nicolas Cage like this.
Listening to an interview he did about his performance, he talked about how special this was because he got to take things to a different level in his own perspective of his acting career. He says that this was a new edge in gesture and vocal work, that he felt he had this freedom in creativity that he hasn't felt before, and it shows.
I feel like he went to a dark place. I feel like I feel like he really went to a dark place to pull this character out, because it's written all over. Most people wear prosthetics to hide, to kind of enhance the character or hide who they really are. I feel like I can see the character through the prosthetics, like that. Understand what I'm saying? Because there's moments where you're like in the face and you're like, that is not Nicolas Cage. That is not Nicolas Cage.
But then he opens his mouth and you're like, that's Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, but even when he does, like, even moments on that, like, I think the closest I was like, oh, this is Nicolas Cage, is when he was in the car.
Oh, and having his moment? Yeah. I think that might be in the trailer.
That was like the only moment where I was like, oh yeah, it's Nicolas Cage. But other than that, I'm like, when I see this guy, I'm like, he creeps me out, man. He's creeping me out. But yeah, I don't know. That's all I got to say about LongLegs, ladies and gentlemen. I definitely think it's worth checking out. But I don't think it's a date flick, popcorn flick, unless you're both into that kind of,
If you're a true crime couple, this is your date night. 100%.
But if you're normally a rom-com,
lighthearted stuff, this ain't your thing.
Yeah, it might not be your thing at all. I don't know. I don't have anything else. Anything else to add to this?
Honestly, not really, because anything else will probably spoil. But in truth, like, for those of you who are really serious about your movie knowledge, do not miss out. If you're planning on film school, this will probably be required viewing. Like, it's so masterfully created, especially for me, the cinematography and kind of like they use 16mm film in those like cropped square shots.
You could tell. I love that. It wasn't digital. You could tell.
Yeah, no, the way that the techniques, the camera work, just
the color
palette was insane. Like there's this wonderful aspect to it where
reddish brown.
Mika's character almost appeared really tan, but in immediate contrast to the villains of the story, they were so pale, and it was like this. It almost was this juxtaposition of the FBI agent was the one in the darkness, while the villains were the one in the white. Which is a very interesting little Easter egg that Perkins put in his directorial choices for that filter.
Let's not forget, shout out to Blair Underwood for coming back into the scene and doing something so crazy and wild. The cop, the black guy.
Oh my goodness, we didn't even talk about Agent Carter.
Yeah, Blair Underwood's he's black cinema icon in my eyes. He's been around since the 80s doing things. And just to see him kind of back in the limelight doing something on the big screen like this was pretty cool.
That was one of the things that we did talk about yesterday that we could have, that we feel would have added to the movie, was a little bit more of Agent Carter.
Yeah. A little more of a lot of the characters around her, which kind of dimmens the movie and kind of makes it a little
character.
A little dull. But yeah, other than that, there's some really great creepy moments, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that's all I gotta say.
Some of the best jump scares. Don't miss
Guys, girls, let us know. I know there's a lot of people excited to see this. I see it in the comments. Everyone's telling me they want to see LongLegs. They want to know what it's about. They can't wait. listen, like, comment, share. Make sure you subscribe. Let us know. Have you seen it? When are you going to see it? And for more movie news, television news, and pop culture, check out wearecritix.com. Follow me at KlepCX on all platforms. And Em, where can they find you?
I am at MC Ghoul and XScream Podcast.
And we'll talk to you all later.